At 18, I picked up a school bully no one wanted. I tried for so long, but I could never melt the ice around his heart. Then, his childhood sweetheart showed up. That's when I realized he did have a gentle side, just not for me. The day I let go, I told a lie. I'll be right back. But I never came back. 7 years later, we met again on set. Now a movie star, he grabbed my wrist. "You said you'd be right back. Where the hell did you go?" My palms were slick with sweat. The newly crowned Best Actor, Luke, stood just 5 meters behind me. If I turned around, I'd run right into him. The assistant director said, "Mr. Luke, next scene is where you reunite with your ex. You should show some longing, maybe a hint of regret." Luke let out a soft scoff. "Longing? You don't think that's right? She's my ex. What's there to be nostalgic about?" His voice hadn't changed at all, still that lazy, unruly tone. At 18, he used this same voice to call my name Jojo, soft or sharp, depending on his mood. The crew was still talking, though I couldn't catch what the assistant director said. But Luke's distant voice cut through loud and clear. "My ex, please. I forgot about her ages ago. I'm not the type to recycle old flames." Oh, and as that so-called recycled flame, I had zero plans to say hi. Once the shoot wrapped, we'd part ways perfect. I was thinking that when a colleague suddenly shouted, "Jojo, did you find the prop?" The space behind me went silent. I grabbed the prop and bolted. Luke didn't follow. Maybe he hadn't heard. Or maybe he did, and just didn't care. While we were dressing the set, I told a coworker, "Next time, call me Jenny, not Jojo." "Why?" Jojo sounds so cute. Jenny's more professional. She laughed and bought it. This was my first gig as an assistant director. Before joining the crew, I already knew the male lead was Luke. He was born into fame, with half the industry's resources in his pocket, and worse, he was my first love. I hesitated about taking the job, but I couldn't pass up such a golden opportunity. So I came, and I swore to myself he mustn't recognize me. If he did, I'd be toast. Because 7 years ago, we had a nasty breakup. In the letter, I wrote, "I've known from the start you're from a celebrity family. I only got close to you to dig up dirt. I never liked bad boys. I prefer well-mannered guys. Let's not meet again. Bye." The cooler my words sounded, the more pathetic I looked leaving. I never knew how Luke felt after reading that letter, but he's the vengeful type. If he found out who I was, he might blacklist me from the industry. A coworker once said, "Luke looks even better in real life than on screen. Killer genes." Well, duh. Look who his parents are, former A-list actor and actress. That face is inherited. What I love is his vibe. Clean-cut, refined. He must have been the campus heartthrob back in school. I nearly choked Luke. Campus heartthrob? Not even close. He wasn't just not the heartthrob, he was the guy everyone avoided. I'll never forget the first time I saw him, fresh out of a fight, bruised and beaten, rain pouring down, people hurrying past, and there he was, slumped on the curb like he'd already died. He didn't even look up until I approached. "Get lost," he growled. His tone was that of a rabid dog, ready to tear me apart. But I didn't leave. My hands trembling, I held a little floral umbrella over his head. That was how it all began. I shook off the memory and got back to work. Once the set was ready, I took a break. The studio was too noisy, so I slipped into the stairwell. Just as I opened the door, the sharp smell of smoke hit me. Luke stood in the shadows, a lit cigarette glowing at his fingertips. He lifted his eyes, looking at me just like he used to. The stairwell was dark and still. "Sorry to bother you," I said, lowering my head and turning to leave. But Luke stopped me. "What do you do?" "Assistant director. Fresh out of school." "Yeah. Working with Director Jang right after graduation. That's impressive." "Thank you, Mr. Luke. How old are you?" 25. He chuckled lazily. Same age. And you're calling me Mr. Luke? The assistant director calls you that too. He's 43. Say it again. I blinked, confused. Then, reluctantly, Mr. Luke. I couldn't see clearly in the dark, but it looked like Luke smiled. That cold, emotionless kind of smile. A chill ran through me, but I still hoped maybe he didn't recognize me. I'd changed so much in 7 years, from a skinny, sickly girl into someone people now called pretty. Even my relatives barely recognized me, and in the darkness, no way he could tell. You go ahead, I'll rest here. Wait, he called after me again. What's your name? The question came suddenly. Jennifer Delaney. That's my name. Ever gone by another name? No. He went quiet. Cold sweat soaked my back. I used to be called Jolene, but I changed it later. He lied to me once. Now, I was lying to him. Guess that made us even. That summer before sophomore year, I found Luke on the street corner. He said he had nowhere to go, no family, and I believed him. I thought he was like me, a poor kid nobody wanted. When I was little, my mum hated me for being a girl. After she and my dad divorced, they both started new families. Both had sons, and neither wanted me. I was dumped in my aunt's basement. I was always obedient. Being good meant at least I got to eat. Luke and I were complete opposites. He smoked, fought, caused trouble non-stop. I was quiet, introverted. All I knew was schoolwork. In our second year, we were placed in the same class. I sat in the front row. He sat in the back. No one knew what his family did. Rumors said he had no parents, no home. At school, we were strangers. But no one knew every night Luke would knock on the basement window. I'd clear a small patch of floor so he could sleep. Before my aunt's family woke up, he'd leave at dawn, like he'd never been there. He skipped class a lot and was always getting hurt. Whenever I patched him up, he'd complain, "Jolene, can you be more gentle? Call me Jojo." "All right, Jojo." Jojo was a nickname from my late grandmother. I liked that name more than Jolene. Since Luke always came to sleep over, I subconsciously thought he had it worse than I did. I even had the illusion when I forgot my textbook in class and the teacher called me out, Luke would walk from the back row to the front and toss his book on my desk. When I got bullied by students from other classes and couldn't speak up, Luke would step in front of me and say I was under his protection. I mistook that for a kindred bond. It wasn't. Later, I found out Luke was a star's son. His family owned countless houses and sports cars. One of his shoes could cover my wardrobe for an entire season. He was just using me to spite his family. When did I realize that? Probably the day Jessica showed up. My thoughts were cut off when I got back to the set and someone shoved a milk tea into my hand. A colleague said, "Jessica's here again. She bought milk tea for everyone. Look at her standing next to Luke. They're the perfect power couple." I looked toward them. Jessica was acting all cutesy, and Luke tilted his head, listening patiently. Just like everyone else, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the beautiful scene. Suddenly, Luke seemed to sense something and looked my way. I immediately lowered my head. When I looked up again, he wasn't looking at me anymore. Maybe I imagined it. Jessica was still whining. "Lukey, will you take me to Paris for Fashion Week after filming ends?" Her voice and tone were exactly the same as 7 years ago. I couldn't help but drift into thought. Back in high school, Luke and I had kept things strictly platonic. After the college entrance exams, during that summer, our classmates had a late-night get-together. After it ended, I was followed by a group of drunk punks. Luke appeared out of nowhere and beat them off with his fists. Maybe it was the freedom after graduation. Maybe it was because we were adults. Suddenly, I started seeing Luke in a new light. I gathered the courage to confess, then took the lead in holding hands, hugging, and even our first kiss. Luke wasn't passionate, but he didn't pull away either. He remained cold and distant, never uttering a single sweet word. But in some ways, he was a decent boyfriend. He always showed up when I needed him and was generous with me, but he never introduced me to his friends. Once, I tried to surprise him at the pool hall. Instead of being happy, he looked annoyed and said, "Don't come here again." Back then, I didn't think much of it. Just figured it was his personality. Until Jessica showed up. She wore an expensive dress and flawless makeup, like a beam of light bursting into my world. She called him Lukey in her sweet voice. "Lukey, what are you doing here? Lukey, where's the Ferrari you just bought? Take me for a spin." The word Ferrari nearly broke my back. Jessica looked at me with wide, innocent eyes. "Lukey, who's she?" "Hi, I'm Luke's girlfriend." "Huh? Are you kidding me? There's no way Lukey would be into someone like you. I'm his future girlfriend. Our families have an engagement." Bullshit. Luke's face darkened as he pushed Jessica out the door. "Don't listen to her. I never agreed to that engagement." His explanation sounded weak. Later, his parents came to see me. That's when I learned Luke was a second-gen star. Not just any second-gen, but one whose family basically ran the entertainment industry. Luke didn't get along with his parents. He had purposely transferred from a private prep school to a public high school and refused to go home. His parents were always away, barely paying attention to him, having no clue what he was doing. At the end of that conversation, his dad told me, "Jenny, you may not realize this, but Luke's very rebellious. He's with you to piss us off. It's not love. He's done this before. Watch how he treats Jessica." Jessica's the one he really likes. They've been close since they were kids. He just hasn't realized his feelings yet. "Jenny, you're not from our world." That hit me like a bolt of lightning. And later, I realized his dad wasn't lying. Luke claimed he was annoyed by her, but he was endlessly patient with Jessica. He tolerated her tantrums, indulged her whims. The worst part? One time Jessica was mocking me for being poor, and the next second when Luke appeared, she instantly put on a pitiful face. "Lukey, Jolin pushed me into those thugs on purpose. I was so scared." Luke suddenly got mad. "Jojo, I told you not to mess with her." Jessica stood behind him, making a smug face. That was when I understood Luke wasn't incapable of love. He just didn't love me. At the end of August, I accepted his parents' offer and went to study abroad with their financial help. Given my background, this was likely my only chance. The day I left, I told Luke I wanted to buy some chocolate. He instinctively pulled out his wallet. "Get the most expensive one. I want some too." I didn't take it. "No need. I'll be right back." "Okay, I'll wait." And then I never returned. As his parents requested, I left a cruel breakup letter to kill any hope he had. Our 3-month love affair quietly ended with the arrival of fall. I changed my name and cut ties with all my high school classmates. I used to be invisible anyway, often bullied. I cherished the hard-won chance to study abroad. I learned to work out and dress well. My name and appearance changed. Plus, with his parents' help hiding me, Luke couldn't find me. As far as he was concerned, I might as well have died. But I kept hearing news about him. After I left, he repeated senior year and got into the film academy. He debuted in college and rose fast. On camera, he was refined and charming, with a gentle smile that captivated fans. No trace of the boy I once knew. People change, I thought. So did I. By the end of the day, I was sore all over, but my co-workers were buzzing with excitement. "Holy crap! He looks amazing in this pic." "What? New leaked photo of Luke, trending already?" I leaned over to look. A candid photo was blowing up online. This scene is where he runs into his ex. Look at those eyes. Insane. Luke nailed the lead role. In the photo, Luke stared ahead quietly, his posture elegant, but in his eyes, a dark fire raged wild and unhinged. What shook me even more at the blurred edge of the frame, in the line of his gaze, the back figure was me. The next day, filming resumed. The female lead had a medical emergency and had to go to the hospital. It was a critical scene between the male and female leads, no room for delay. The director was anxious. In the end, they decided to use a stand-in to shoot Luke's part first. Luke insisted on picking the stand-in himself. I stood on the far edge of the crowd, and somehow, his eyes landed on me. Her. I was stunned. The director had no objections and urged me to hurry up and change into the female lead's costume. I only had to appear from behind, but to avoid breaking continuity, makeup still did my face. When I stepped in front of Luke, he looked a bit dazed. I didn't dare make eye contact. Luke asked, "You nervous?" "I've never acted before." "You don't have to. Just listen." After a pause, he added, "Relax. If you're tense, your body will stiffen. It won't look natural on camera." "Okay. You can take a deep breath, calm your nerves." "Thank you, Mr. Luke." "Right. When the camera's on me, just listen to my lines." "And..." He didn't finish. "And what?" I looked up at him. "And where's my chocolate?" Luke said each word slowly, his eyes wild with the same madness from back then. He reached out his hand. "Jojo, it's been 7 years. You should have bought it by now, right?" Exposed, that was my first thought. Luke had probably recognized me long ago. Coincidentally, this scene was where the male lead confesses his love after a long separation. For a moment, I wondered if he was really saying those words to me, but of course not. The real Luke had never said anything romantic to me. After the take, the director gave me a thumbs up. "Jenny, you've got a knack for acting. That look in your eyes just now, perfect." I was speechless. Could it be we were both just being ourselves? The next few scenes, Luke specifically asked for me to coordinate with him. My head was spinning. Luke had too many ties and interests in this project. Even the director didn't dare offend him. Appointing me now, if not revenge, what else could it be? I was promoted from assistant to associate director, Luke's personal one, working around him 18 hours a day. But I did way more than an AD's job, like helping move heavy props. Even the girls had to pitch in. I had just rolled up my sleeves when Luke grabbed my wrist. "Get me a milk tea." Not just that, he ordered a bunch of snacks too. Even though delivery was an option, he insisted I go get them myself. That said, my coworkers were jealous. I got to stroll around on the clock. When I brought back the snacks, Luke didn't eat them. Not hungry anymore. Take them away. And just like that, after a week working under Luke, I somehow gained weight. Eventually, even coworkers got curious. "Is he buying you snacks on purpose?" "No way." "But he really spoils you. Luke strict his company invested in this film too. He scolded every assistant director before you, but never once raised his voice at you." "That's not true," I denied flatly. I'd be lucky if he didn't torment me. The gossip around set eventually reached Jessica's ears. She rushed over. "So you're Lukey's new assistant?" I couldn't help correcting her. "Associate director." "So young. Can you even handle the job?" "Miss Jessica, please don't judge a book by its cover." Jessica pouted and stared at me for a while. "Haven't we met before? Maybe you've mistaken me for someone else." I wasn't in the mood to reminisce with the princess and continued organizing my production schedule. Jessica huffed. "I've seen plenty of girls like you in film crews." I was speechless. "Don't think just because Lukey favors you that you can climb the ladder. Know your place, or you'll be the one heartbroken in the end." "What are you talking about?" "You kind of look like one of Lukey's exes." Jessica finished the sentence, waiting for my reaction. She thought I'd be devastated, realizing I was just a stand-in. But I stared at her in confusion. "And?" "He only favors you because you remind him of her. It's not because he actually appreciates you. Lukey hates that woman don't get cocky." I put down my work and smiled at her. If he really hates her, why find a stand-in? That doesn't make sense, Miss Jessica. She was speechless, so furious she stomped her foot. After she left, I couldn't calm down. So Luke hated me figures. That night, Luke suddenly messaged me, asking me to bring him some medicine. Not wanting to offend the lead actor, I bought the meds and went up. I thought he was just messing with me, but he was genuinely sick sweat pouring down his forehead. "What's wrong?" I asked. "Stomach pain." "Where's your assistant?" "Went into the city, can't make it back." Strange. Luke never used to have stomach issues. I asked, "What happened to your stomach?" "The year I repeated senior year, I didn't eat properly." "Why not?" "No one saved me any food." He half lifted his lids and looked at me. I was reminded of when he used to crash at my place. I'd always save him a portion. By the time I finished my homework, he would have already cleaned his plate. "What about the cafeteria?" "Tastes like crap." Classic stubborn Luke. I noticed a whole table of dishes still steaming. Luke said, "Just arrived. Too nauseous to eat." What a waste. After all the crew box meals, I was practically starving. "You eat it," he said casually. "Leaving it is a waste. If you won't eat, just throw it out." I snapped a pair of disposable chopsticks, sat down at the table, and ate quietly. The room was quiet too. I thought Luke had fallen asleep. When I turned my head, he was watching me, a faint smile on his lips. But as soon as our eyes met, the smile vanished. He went back to looking like the world owed him something. Same old angry wolfdog. I said nothing, and neither did he. Until I got up to leave, and then Luke said, "Jojo, there's nothing going on between me and Jessica. Never was, never will be." "Oh," I nodded politely. "But Mr. Luke, I don't care anymore." That one sentence kept Luke in a dark mood for days. Whatever. We were almost done filming anyway. But just days before wrap, something unexpected happened, a scene on a boat during a windy day. The boom operator had stepped out to use the bathroom, and I filled in for him. Standing at the edge of the deck, holding a mic longer than I was tall, I felt unsteady. A strong gust blew through. I lost balance and fell right off the boat. Below was a lake. I couldn't swim. In the chaos, I heard someone shout, "Jojo!" Luke dove in after me without hesitation, holding me tight like he'd never let go again. After that, everything went black. I woke up in an unfamiliar room. At the bedside was a handwritten note. "This is my place, close to the filming base. I got you time off rest a few days. There's new women's clothes in the wardrobe if you need to change." The handwriting was clearly Luke's. Many actors owned homes near the set, Luke included. I'd read gossip saying he stayed here most of the time. The place was spotless. I walked into the closet. The first thing I saw was a floral umbrella, the very one I'd held over Luke all those years ago. It was old now, cheaply made, but it had been placed dead center in the wardrobe. Suddenly, I remembered that rainy day when I held the umbrella over him in the storm. He tried to chase me off, and somehow, I found the nerve to peel back his jacket and check his wounds. "You son of a..." He started to curse, then bit his tongue. "Not too bad. Don't need a hospital." I shoved the umbrella into his hands. "Wait here. I'll get some medicine. I'll be right back." "Just get lost," he was fuming. 10 minutes later, I returned, drenched with medicine and food. Soaked to the bone, I stood there while he stared at me in silence. From that day on, Luke never cursed at me again. I later learned he was truly shocked no one in his life had ever come back for him. I was the first. The memory faded. I found the women's clothes and slowly got dressed. Just as I was halfway into the top, the closet door swung open. Luke and I locked eyes awkward. He quickly backed out. "Once I finished changing," he said, flustered. "Why didn't you make a sound? I thought you left again." "Why are you yelling?" Luke froze, instantly deflated. That line had always worked whenever he lost his temper. I'd calmly say, "Why are you yelling?" And he'd back off. "I never thought it would still work," I added. "I should be mad at you. Why didn't you knock before coming into the closet?" How was I supposed to know you were in there? His face turned red. I didn't see anything, I swear. If you're upset, I'll apologize. I'm sorry. I had known this about Luke for a long time. For all his bark, he was surprisingly innocent about some things. It's fine, I said, too tired to think. It's not like you haven't seen it before. As soon as I said it, I realized how inappropriate it sounded. Sure enough, Luke pressed his lips together, face flushing red down to his neck. I quickly changed the subject. Don't you have any scenes today? I'm done. I'll make porridge. Take your meds after. I had caught a slight cold from the fall into the lake. When Luke brought over the porridge, he had an apron on. I couldn't help but stare a little. A guard dog in an apron. Real housewife vibes. What'd you say? I said, thank you. Luke's eyes lit up like a praised puppy. But he still barked. Finish your food. No wasting. Want anything else? I can be bothered to make it. Don't trouble yourself. Go do your thing. I've got no scenes tomorrow morning. I'm not going back to set tonight. I have time to prep ingredients. I hesitated. So, you're staying here? Yeah. I'll move to the guest room. No spare bedding in there. You're sick, just stay in bed and don't make it worse. Luke pointed to the floor. Same as always. I'll sleep on the ground. That night, my fever spiked again. Luke barely slept, changing my towel every couple hours. Fever makes you hazy. I started having illusions, thinking I was back in that small basement. Luke sleeping on the floor, a few meters away, like always, separated by a table. I could only see his back. Once, he got sick but didn't say a word. In the middle of the night, I realized something was off. His forehead was burning up. I ran upstairs to get fever meds and wiped his face again and again with a wet towel. Luke reached out and grabbed me, held on for a while, like he was afraid I'd leave. Only after he fell asleep did he let go. That was the last time we were that close before graduation. Most of the time, we were like strangers, passing each other in the halls. That night passed in a blur. When I woke, Luke was gone, called for a reshoot. But on the table, there was a full meal already prepared. In the middle sat a bar of chocolate, the expensive kind. I was halfway through eating when someone came in. I thought it was Luke, but it was a stranger. I recognized him, Luke's manager and close friend. He stared at me, stunned. Holy shit! Luke's hiding a woman now? I scrambled to explain. I'm just the assistant director. The manager asked my name. I said, you can just call me Jojo. He nearly jumped. Jojo? You're Jojo? What about it? He stared like he'd just solved a mystery. You're Jojo! That's who you are. Seeing my confusion, he said, Luke went nuts looking for you. I was speechless. He couldn't find you and spiraled, stopped eating, stopped sleeping, hit rock bottom. The manager smiled kindly. Well, now he's found you. He can finally let go. 7 years. No more torturing himself. You're exaggerating, I said. We only dated 3 months. Not exactly unforgettable. You don't know? Luke became an actor because of you. I froze. He's always hated the entertainment world because of his parents. They wanted him to be a child star, but he refused. Then, after you broke up, out of nowhere, he announced he was going into acting. Said it was because you liked movies. That if he became an actor, he could stand in the brightest, highest place for you to see. It was true. One night, I couldn't sleep and struck up a conversation. Hey, Luke, are you awake? Yeah. I watched this movie today, Roman Holiday. It was so good. Not interested. I really love movies. I wish I could make one someday. But making movies costs money. I'm broke. Doesn't cost. Just make it. I thought he had no clue and was being ridiculous. So I dropped it. Turns out, he remembered it all. The manager was full of emotion. 3 months, and he's carried it his whole life. That afternoon, Luke came back. He asked his manager, What are you doing here? You're wrapping soon. Came to help you clean up. No need. Leave. Also, I'm taking a break. No bookings for a while. Abandoning your bro for a girl. Remember when you couldn't find her and cried your eyes out to me? Luke cut him off. Don't talk about that in front of my girlfriend. I corrected. Ex-girlfriend. You never broke up with me to my face, so it doesn't count. I wrote you a letter. Just a letter. I tossed it after reading. How do I know you even wrote it? The manager slipped away. Luke, weren't you mad after reading it? I said I was using you for dirt. Luke laughed. You didn't have the guts. And anyway, if you had, wouldn't I have seen it in the news? I was speechless. Luke went to wash fruit. I said, a breakup only takes one person's consent. Whether you agree or not, we ended ages ago. He froze. Then I'll chase you again. It's useless, Luke. Are you mad at me? He lit a cigarette in frustration, then looked at me and put it out. Because I lied about my background? Or because of Jessica? That I didn't explain things sooner? All of it, and none of it. Luke, we're not from the same world. Don't force this. The room went dead, quiet. After a long while, Luke's eyes turned bloodshot. He gritted his teeth. I don't care, I will force it. I didn't take his words seriously. After filming ended, I went back to my hometown. My aunt's old house was being torn down, and she asked me to help move furniture. She may have favored her own kids, but she did raise me. I wasn't going to be ungrateful. On the way back, I passed my old high school. The buildings had been renovated, looked totally different. I stood at the entrance for a bit, when someone called out to me. Hey? Aren't you that girl? I remember you. A man walked out of the guardhouse, looked about my age. You went to this school, right? I remember. You were in Luke's class, weren't you? I nodded. And you are? I used to fight with Luke. Wait, why are you here alone? Where's Luke? Wasn't he always following you around? I froze. Followed me home? Yeah, after night classes, Luke always walked behind you, made sure you got home safely. You didn't know? I had no idea. Seeing my disbelief, the guy said. The craziest time was when we had a fight set up. Right in the middle of it, he suddenly yelled, stop, said he had to go back to school. I was like, what the hell? Him go back to school? So I followed him, just curious, and saw him waiting at the gate, standing there until you came out. He tailed you all the way home, then came back to find me. There, he pointed to the corner where a plane tree stood. That's where he always waited. 17-year-old Luke always wore black, had a buzz cut, blended right into the night. A breeze passed, and I could almost see him standing there, swallowing all the starlight. My aunt called to hurry me. When I got there, I was helping clean out the basement. The bed I used to sleep in, the desk I used to use, all carried out, one by one. My aunt said, Jojo, I found something. Come look. She pointed to a black patch on the floor, covered with carvings of my name. That boy did it, right? The one who's a star now. I was surprised. How do you know? Oh, he came looking for me once. When? Remember when I caught cigarette butts down here and gave you a scolding? I remember. You were so stubborn. I didn't even want to keep scolding. You flat out refused to tell the truth, insisted it was you, but I knew you weren't that kind of kid. Thinking back, even my aunt sounded nostalgic. That day, I was yelling at you. That boy was right outside the window. Saw the whole thing. Later, he came to me in private, got down on his knees, and begged me not to blame you. I clutched the hem of my shirt, my breath slowing. I was afraid he'd be a bad influence, so I banned him from crashing here anymore. So that's what happened. Near the end of our second year, Luke stopped coming over for food or sleep. At school, he was always surrounded by punks. I never got a chance to ask him about it. One day, I finally worked up the courage. Before he could answer, some guy snickered. Damn, Luke. Even got a straight A girl warming his bed. Before the words were out, Luke's fist had landed, breaking the guy's nose. She's a girl. Watch your damn mouth. That was the first time I saw Luke truly lose it. It was bloody. I ran. The next day, as he passed my desk, Luke muttered just loud enough, "I found a place to stay." That was his answer. My fingertips brushed the carved names on the floor, Luke's old sleeping spot. They meant that on countless sleepless nights, Luke never said a word but must have been calling out to me in his heart, over and over. The day before demolition, I walked home from school to my aunt's house one last time. The familiar path was still shaded by sycamore trees. I walked to the end, saw the small basement window. Almost as if we shared a connection, I turned, and there was Luke across the street, wearing a mask. 20 minutes later, we were seated at our old usual restaurant. Since filming wrapped, I hadn't taken any of his calls. Still, he managed to find me. Next to the restaurant was that old pool hall. Watching guys come and go, I suddenly wanted an answer. "Luke, that summer, I came looking for you here." "Yeah. You were really impatient and told me to leave. Did you know I was heartbroken?" Luke froze for a second. "I wasn't impatient, Jojo. I was scared. Panicked." "Scared of what?" "That place isn't good. The guy I was meeting was bad news. He'd been wanting to beat me up. When you showed up, I was terrified. I thought he'd set his sights on you." Luke furrowed his brow, recalling. "I'm sorry, Jojo. I was too on edge and made you misunderstand." Just then, our number was called. I asked Luke to grab a bottle of water. While he was gone, a group of sleazy men surrounded me. "Hey, pretty girl, wanna have some fun? Was that your boyfriend just now? What kind of freak eats with a mask on?" I stared them down. "Get lost." "Ooh, feisty. That just makes it more fun." One guy reached out to touch my shoulder and howled the next second as Luke twisted his wrist nearly off. "Screw you. Beat him up. Get him." Luke yanked me behind him. He completely dropped the act, radiating rage and menace. I stared, stunned. It was him, my Luke. The same fury, the same volatility, but always protecting me. I didn't doubt for a second that he could take on all four of them. But I had to stop him. He couldn't risk a fight now, not with who he was. Luke was stubborn, locked onto them like a wolf, ready for justice. I tugged his sleeve. "Luke, don't. I'm scared." He froze. Then his whole body seemed doused in cold water. The fury vanished. Even his edges softened. "Jojo's scared. Then forget it." "Luke, let's run." He grabbed my hand and bolted. We dashed through the streets, dodging the crowd, running and running, heart pounding louder than anything. Thump, 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 thump. The last time I heard this sound was because of him, the boy who made my heart race when I was young. And now, he felt like that same boy again. We ran all the way to my aunt's house, into the empty basement. Everything was cleared for demolition. No lights, just moonlight streaming in. "Luke, Jojo." We spoke at the same time. I let him go first. "You used to walk me home every day?" "Yeah. Your road was pretty secluded. Girls got harassed around here a lot. You walking alone, I couldn't rest easy." "Why didn't you tell me?" "What for?" he said lazily. "You were timid. If I told you, you'd be scared. You had college to focus on. Let me handle the rest." I pointed at the names carved into the floor. "And this? What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I liked you." I blinked. "You never said that when we were 18. Luke looked down. "Back then, I didn't know how." Luke's past was complicated. He had parents, but it was like he didn't. Grew up in cold detachment. No one taught him how to love, or how to express it. Luke thought being at my beck and call, spending money on me, that was enough. When I suddenly took the initiative, he was genuinely happy. But he wasn't used to being loved, not used to being close, so he stayed passive. Luke had practiced in the mirror, but it felt awkward. He couldn't say it out loud, so he wrote it down. He folded 1,000 paper cranes, each with "I like you" written inside, planning to give them to me on my birthday. But he never got the chance. Later, after acting in so many roles, experiencing different lives, he finally learned how to express himself. But by then, the one he wanted to tell was gone. After a moment of silence, I asked, "What about Jessica? You were so good to her." Luke shook his head. "Yeah, because she saved my life." I widened my eyes. "What?" "When we were kids, my parents didn't care about me. She was the only one who came to play. One time, I had a fever she was the first to notice. She cried and screamed until the adults paid attention. That's the only reason they realized I was sick. The doctor said if they'd come any later, my brain would have been damaged." Recalling the past, Luke gave a self-deprecating smile. "After that, I promised to treat her like a real sister, to be good to her. And I did, for all these years. But there was more going on that summer. Jessica threatened me, said if I didn't put up with her, she'd go to my parents and make them hate you. My parents always trusted her, and if she twisted the story, it wouldn't end well for you. Also, I didn't trust my parents' character. If they took it out on you, they might have sabotaged your college plans behind the scenes. I realized that's why you told me not to mess with her." "Exactly." Luke knew which incident I meant. "When Jessica accused you of setting her up, I didn't believe a word. I just wanted you to avoid her altogether, not even talk to her. That way, you'd be safe." Luke drooped his head like a guilty hound. "I never thought you'd misunderstand so deeply. Jojo, you could have just asked me." Thinking back, I was flooded with emotion. He didn't know how to love, did I? No, I didn't either. After being abandoned by both my parents, I lost the courage to ask anything. I grew up learning only to obey. In my world, obedience, compliance, being good, that was the only way to earn rare praise. And to not be abandoned again. So when it came to Luke, I'd rather suffer quietly than ask him a single question. I never dared get mad. Not knowing how to love was our shared flaw. Luke was a wild dog, but wasn't I too? Just a little mutt desperate for redemption. The moonlight was cold as water. Luke held my hand, hadn't let go since earlier, but there was still one thing I had to make clear. "I studied abroad because your parents paid for it," I figured. I could have chosen not to go, but it was probably my only chance. I was selfish. Just that once. "I understand." Luke smiled, gentle for once. "Jojo, you've always been so good it breaks my heart. But I wish you were more selfish. Don't let the world hurt you. I'll focus on my career from now on." "No problem, I'll follow you. You're a movie star with a bright future." "Why follow me?" "So what? Even becoming a star started because of you. Jojo, I want to be your personal bodyguard like before, walking beside you down every dark road." I was a little tired, resting my head on his shoulder. "Luke, we only dated 3 months." Luke kissed my forehead with reverence. "But my love for you lasted longer than that." Luke didn't waste time. The day after we cleared the air, he posted publicly and tagged me. 3 months for a lifetime. The internet almost crashed. The whole web went wild. I was worried his parents would make trouble again, but I overthought it. Luke was 25. Even if his parents disapproved, so what? With his personality, they couldn't control him. Maybe they hadn't been able to for 7 years, which was why they went after me instead. I just lacked the courage. After Luke's post, someone else also went viral, Jessica. That same day, Jessica stormed up to me. "I knew I'd seen you before." "So you're Jolene." "It's Jennifer. I don't care what you call yourself. I'm telling you, break up with Lukey now. I'm the one with the engagement." I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Luke showed up, standing behind Jessica. She kept provoking. "Did you see what people are saying online? They all think you're a homewrecker, stealing Luke from me." If you want to keep your job, dump him and give him back to me. What relationship with you? Why don't I know about it? Luke's voice cut in coldly. Jessica immediately turned pitiful. Lukey, are you letting her trick you again? What's your tone? I don't hit women. Luke's words carried a threat. Jessica flinched, face pale. You said I was like a sister. You were always nice to me. How could you yell at me? I've done more than enough, Jessica. A sister shouldn't aspire to be more. If you do, then you're not even a sister anymore. Jessica had never been spoken to like that. Furious, she yelled. You've been bewitched! I'm calling a press conference! Just wait! Everyone will know she's a homewrecker! First of all, there's no written engagement between us. It was just the parents joking around. I've denied it publicly many times. Luke narrowed his eyes. Second, if you want to go public, don't expect me to show mercy. Jessica snapped. But that poor girl isn't worthy of you. Luke looked at her with a trace of pity. You keep saying poor. Jessica, have you ever truly loved someone? Of course I love you. No, you don't, Luke interrupted her. If I wasn't a Dawson, didn't have celebrity parents, if I were just some smoking, fighting thug, would you still love me? Jessica froze. It was like the thought had never crossed her mind. If you saw me sitting on the curb one rainy day like that, would you hold an umbrella over me? No. You just mutter about trash like me. You love my status, not me. You can't even accept that I used to be a delinquent. Luke took my hand and walked away. When I looked back, Jessica was still standing there, dazed. I didn't know if she understood. But the next day, her press conference went ahead as scheduled. Luke couldn't stop it, but he'd made plenty of preparations for the fallout. Only, the conference didn't go as expected. Jessica showed up in full glam, eyes red like she'd cried for hours. Today, I have a statement to make. She bit her lip. Luke and I are not engaged. The room buzzed. Everyone had come expecting scandal like a cheating actor. Luke and I grew up together because of our family's business ties. He sees me as a sister, and I only see him as a brother. Engagement? Just a rumor. Neither of us acknowledged it. Our parents mentioned it in passing. It doesn't count. I've never loved Luke, and he's the same. I hope people stop spreading false rumors. As for Jennifer, Jessica paused, then said seriously, she's Luke's first love, and the only person I, Jessica, will ever call my sister-in-law. I once judged her by appearance, and I'm sorry for that. The internet exploded. Netizens dug up past posts where Jessica had judged people's looks. There was heated debate. But the good part was, Luke's contingency plans weren't needed. Jessica left the country, said she wanted to start fresh, meet new people. Half a year later, Luke's father got sick, couldn't work anymore. His mother turned down most gigs to stay home and care for him. Meanwhile, Luke's career soared. Soon he took over the family company, fully in charge. No one could interfere with his choices anymore. Luke, once clueless, now seemed reborn, trying to make up for everything he once lacked. Half his social media posts were about me. On talk shows, he mentioned me. I used to be a mess. My girlfriend pulled me out of the darkness and showed me a bit of light. But there were side effects when he couldn't find me. Luke panicked, afraid I'd disappear again. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, he'd cling to me and refuse to let go. Jojo, 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 repeating my name endlessly, like the carved letters buried in dust. In the spring of our 27th year, Luke went back to our high school with me. Youth is like the seasons, wave after wave. There's always someone young, always someone overwhelmed by a racing heart. Outside our old classroom stood a huge sycamore tree. We stood beneath it, listening to the students reading aloud. I asked Luke, what if I hadn't come back after 7 years? You would've. That's certain. Luke said, that day in the rain, you came back. So I believe this time, you'd come back too. I was the only person in his life who ever came back. And I still am. We stood beneath the classroom window. Luke lowered his head and gently kissed me. Jojo, I love you. In high school, I picked up a school bully no one wanted. Today marks the 10th year since I picked him up, and the first day of our marriage. If someone ever asks me what the best love letter I ever received was, I'll tell them it was the after-school path, the nights we spent together, and a line of silent carvings. May we always be happy.